Hi guys. So my name is Jonathan, and I'm actually going to be replacing Jason Armstrong, who usually does this. So actually, I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. So I've been with the Let's Talk Energy initiative for the past 10 months now. So I've done a variety of things from handling the social media. Some of you might recognize me for my involvement with Let's Talk Energy last year. So sorry, this year, but the past Talk Energy week that we had, which was Talk Energy Week 2015. So I headed something called the Walk for Energy. So the Walk for Energy, I came up with this crazy idea. I decided I was going to see, I really wanted to see how energy impacts the lives of Canadians. So I decided to walk from Montreal to Ottawa. For those of you who don't know, it's a journey of about 205 kilometers the way I did it. And you may ask, how would that exactly show me how energy affects the lives of Canadians? Well, some of you may know the biggest energy uses that Canadians have are heating and cooling of our homes because of our seasons, obviously, and transportation. So what I decided to do was walk from Montreal to Ottawa. So foregoing transportation, and sleep in my tent along the way. So for a total of 5 nights, I slept in my tent. I carried my sleeping bag on my back. I carried my thermarest in my backpack. I carried my tent with me. I carried some food. I was allowed to sort of go into restaurants and stuff and eat just so that I could sort of spread the message about what I was doing. But I feel it really gave me a feel for how energy affects our lives. Essentially, I was forced to do this in minus 25, minus 30 conditions because initially when I come up with the idea in sort of late November, I was talking about it with Jason, and Jason was telling me, okay, end of February, winter's sort of wrapping up. It might be a little bit cold at night, minus 10, minus 15, but if any of you remember, this past February was apparently the coldest February in 150 years. So really, it was quite the experience. It was an awesome experience. I also decided to stop at different energy-related sites along the way. So I stopped at the Carillon hydroelectric dam. I filmed an interview there. I interviewed someone from Hydro-Quebec, which was really neat. I also stopped at the Bose Brewery. They're very energy conscious. They get 100% of their electricity is green electricity, and 100% of their natural gas is also green natural gas through a deal that they have with Bullfrog Power. So it was really a neat experience. I got to speak to a bunch of high school students at the end. So at the end, I arrived at the Museum of Aviation, and I did a whole talk about how energy affects our lives and how energy affects their lives and what they can do differently. So that's what my role was this past year. And now I have taken a new position within the initiative. So I am the coordinator for Talk Energy Week 2016. So I've started, basically the announcement went out yesterday. Talk Energy Week 2016 is on. The dates are February 20th to February 27th. 2016. So that's really exciting. Starting the planning. The speaker series were a huge success last year. So lots of very engaging questions from the high school students that we engaged with in the speaker series. This next Talk Energy Week, we're hoping to make it twice as big. So I'd like to see speaker series in every province, really, so that we're communicating with as many Canadians as possible, and also to give us a different impression of sort of where the differences lie in Canada's energy system. So it's definitely going to be really exciting. So I know most of you probably tuned in to see Paul Freedman from Rock the Bike. Unfortunately, we've been in contact, and he's been having some problems with his internet, so he's finding it a little bit difficult to connect. So I don't think he'll be able to join us today, which is too bad. Unless, I think he just joined. Paul?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, okay. Excellent. I was actually just telling people how you were having trouble connecting, but it seems like we got you online. Welcome.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, no, take your time. Take your time. Okay, so that's perfect. So I'll just give him a short introduction. So Paul is from Rock the Bike, which is a company based out of the United States. I'd heard about them actually from the Gaia Project. The Gaia Project are based out in New Brunswick. So they do some really interesting things as well with energy education. And Paul worked a little bit with them. I think they have some of his products actually, which he'll be able to tell us about. And he does some really interesting things with energy and also the environment. So he's not only trying to get this product out, which is a really interesting product, but he also is seems to be a very big advocate for the environment, which is really great. He's done some pretty interesting things. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to figure out how to make the microphone work a little bit better.
Oh, well, I mean, we can hear you perfectly on our end.
Okay, that's cool. Glad to hear it. All right, let's continue then.
So Paul, I was just sort of telling people what your company is. I guess my first question would be, how did it, well, can you give us sort of a sample of what you guys do? I've talked about, people gather that you do something with bikes, but give us a brief overview of what your bikes do, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so we've narrowed our focus and now we're working on bikes where they're mostly stationary and you can get on a bike at typically at an event like a health fair or festival, get on and then pedal, and immediately something happens that is surprising, exciting, and useful, tasty. So our best-selling bikes are the ones that make smoothies, and then we also have bikes that generate power for concerts.
Okay. Okay. So what is your hope exactly with these bikes? What do you hope people are going to understand? I mean, you're powering a concert. I saw some of your pictures on your website. You guys managed to power. I think it was kids were powering 75% of the concert that you guys were at. What are you hoping people are going to retain from this experience?
Um, if a concert is well done and there's music that fits our message and there's an MC that can deliver a word or two at key moments, then we hope that it's like a slightly religious awakening type experience where people who may have been used to consuming power are now able to see that they can produce power and that they can be part of changing the energy situation that we're all in.
So you're really you mentioned a message. You really are you're trying to convey this message. The bikes are definitely one way of conveying this message, but you want people to realize that sort of energy is something important. It sounds like you have some of the same values that we have here at Let's Talk Energy. You're trying to use bikes as a tool for energy education. Realize that we can power a lot of the things that we want to do. Energy is a finite resource. We should move towards a human powered sort of model. Is this more or less what you're trying to say? Paul, are you still there?
Yeah, I just started hearing you again.
Oh, okay. So I guess,
Okay, so if you could try to repeat the question, please.
yeah, of course. So I just was curious. You mentioned messaging. What what exactly do you mean by messaging? Would you say that you're using bikes in a way to convey your message? What is what is your overall message? Are you trying to change the energy model that we have now? You think we're relying too much on making energy, whereas we could rely on our own human energy? What is your overall message?
I would say that the hope that I have is that, um, well, first of all, if we do a good job at one of our shows or with our bike blenders, then a lot of this happens without words. So that's kind of a key part of Rock the Bike, is that this happens experientially, and it doesn't happen um, through talking or reading. So that's, I think, a big aspect of what we're going for that people are responding to. Um, but as for the message itself, the um, there's a perception out there that global warming is real, and that the way to solve it is for politicians and scientists to do their jobs. And if the politicians and scientists could only do their jobs, then we would find a cure. And my feeling is that the individuals have a huge role, because if it wasn't for individuals and their tastes, then we wouldn't have supported the industrial path that we're on, and the innovation and the speed at which we're taking resources from the environment. So basically, the individuals have to play a role in getting us out. And so the pedaling activities that we do at our events are an inroad to the individual impacts that people can make. And one of the main ones that people need to really consider is how much uh, they consume of gasoline through driving and flying. So the hope of the bicycling at the events is that people will remember that biking feels good, pedaling feels good, pedaling makes me happy, and then next time they're considering their transportation to a quick destination, 2 miles away, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember pedaling, it was good, let me try pumping up my bike tires and I'm going to pedal it. When you pump up your bike tires and pedal 2 miles, you have saved a real amount of energy. You've saved like about 1/10 of a gallon of gasoline. And so that's a pretty substantial amount that an individual can do. The amounts that we're talking about when we get people together to power a concert are a lot smaller. So then really the concerts are only meaningful if they get people to substitute bike trips for car trips.
Okay, neat. Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, that I mean that definitely coming from someone who I cycle to work and back every day, so I definitely I feel you on your message there. So I want to expand a little bit more on the activities that you guys do. So you power the concert, but you also, I saw on your website actually, and I think I might just screen share for just a second here so that I can go onto your website. You also go into schools, is that right? You go into schools
Yes.
and you guys, I had some pictures. So this is their website. It's really neat. They've actually got a lot of pictures. So here they are powering a concert. They've got all these LED displays. But I also saw some of the stuff that you guys were doing when you were going into schools. So what kind of services do you offer?
If you want to show people the schools link, you should go to services at the top, and then it'll be one of the items on the services page.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So I like this one right here. This is a really neat picture. So I guess, oh, you guys were out in Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver rocks.
Vancouver rocks. Actually, that leads me into a completely other question that I did have. What kind of work do you guys do? Is it only in the States, or do you do anything internationally? Can you guys do you guys deliver internationally? How does it work exactly? And Richard Branson, pretty neat.
Oh, we are fully taking advantage of the highly sophisticated international shipping mechanisms available to us. We have delivered our pedal power bikes as far as Australia, South Africa, Norway, Hong Kong, and the list goes on. And we think about it every time that we call the DHL driver to come pick us up because our boxes are, not light. And so the last thing that we want to do is send something all the way to South Africa that doesn't work. So we try really hard to make sure that our gear is double, triple checked. And then we call the DHL driver, and that thing gets on an airplane, uses some jet fuel, and lands in South Africa where it's brought to some event. And this is like the bargain that we're taking. We're taking a bargain of hoping that through being reliable, through getting our gear out there, that the gear itself will have more of a positive effect that outweighs any of the manufacturing costs or shipping costs to the environment.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean that makes sense. That's neat though that you guys are sort of all over the world. That's actually really impressive. What is your most popular model? What would you say is what's your best seller?
Oh, well, our most important model is the Fender Blender Pro bike blender.
Okay, okay, and that's basically what you do on that is you pedal and you can actually power a blender, and then the idea is to sort of make smoothies. It's to show how, through pedaling you can actually replace the because I'm not exactly sure, but I know that they do use a lot of power, right? So the idea here is just to show that we can actually substitute this with human power, and you guys can make all sorts of delicious treats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about blenders is that they use more power when you spin the blade faster. So they actually end up being a really great pedal power activity because like a little kid can get on and try really hard and they can have a smoothie, and then a strong cyclist can get on and they can also try hard and they can have a satisfying experience, and it doesn't feel too easy to the stronger cyclist because the blade is moving faster, and that's creating more turbulence inside the pitcher, and that's making the effort harder. So the stronger cyclist has to actually put in 250 watts, whereas the weaker child can put in 100 watts, and they both can drink a smoothie at the end. And then when you drink it, you're having like a slightly psychedelic experience because you put your thoughts and your intentions into the smoothie, and then you're taking it into your body. So I think there's something really cool about that as well.
Neat, neat. Yeah, no, that I could see that. So I guess my question now is, what kind of a response have you guys seen with this kind of thing? Like, do you think people are making this connection? People are saying, "Oh, wow, like, yeah, this is really neat that I can use my human power to make a smoothie, to power a concert." Do you think it's been overall a pretty positive experience?
Well, the response has been pretty good. We've, yes, about like last week there was a woman that walked into our shop with an older stand that we had sold her for bike blending, and the stand had broken because of basically she had just worn it out. and it was an older design. So we gave her a new stand, and the cool thing with her is that she is part of an organization called Safe Routes to Schools, and they basically go into schools and encourage kids to walk and bike to schools. So she's using the bike blender so much in schools that she wore it out and wanted a new one. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we gave her a new one. And then some of the other impacts that I've found, well, the most powerful thing about Rock the Bike, I think, is that our gear is generally used with mainstream audiences, and in not in environmental events, but in just general parties, festivals, gatherings, trade shows, schools, where there's not a focus on sustainability, but there you see the pedal power bikes. Excuse me. Um, so basically, I think that's what we have going for us the best, is that we are getting these subtle messages out in places where people aren't um, focused on green messaging or green ideas.
Neat, neat. Yeah, that's a pretty awesome story that someone would come in because they've used the product so much that they're wearing it out. That's exciting. I guess, and I should have asked this a little bit earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Rock the Bike? Like, where does this idea come from, and how do you come up with the idea that, oh yeah, this is a product that could be sold and people would actually buy this and people would come back because they're wearing it out? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Rock the Bike?
Okay. Well, how far do you want to go?
Well, when did it start? When did this whole idea start? How long have you guys been around?
We started in 2003, and the first things that I was doing in 2003 was I was customizing bikes with sound systems and neon lights, and helping people ride around at night on party rides. And this was something that I was very passionate about at the time. And I would create, like, the craziest ones for myself, the ones with, you know, speakers that glowed and switches on the handlebars and bass tubes and things like that. And when I was riding around with these soul cycles, as I called them, people from the sidewalks were always, starting to dance, and it was very exciting to me. But then one question that I got a lot was, does that charge when I ride? Like, average people wanted to know if I was charging my batteries. And the answer at the time was no, because I hadn't even thought that that would be worth doing, and it's harder to do. But then I got the question so often that I thought, hey, that does sound kind of interesting. Maybe that's worth trying. So that was kind of one of the impetus points. And then another one was my friend Nate that I was sharing the workshop with in the earlier days. He was the one that came up with the bike blenders that we now sell, and he was doing his initial R&D and decided that what he really wanted to do with his summer was to take the bikes out to festivals and actually do a smoothie booth with them. So he roped in his friends, including me, and we went to festivals and set up our little booth with a sign up above it that said the Juice Peddler, and we would invite people from the public to peddle their own smoothies. And that was also like a really good chance to see how people valued the experience more than if you had just served them a good smoothie.
Wow. Okay. And then
Those are some of the
eventually you guys sort of realize, like, wow, we could go into business and make these models and sell them all over the world.
yeah, I mean, like, the customers have kind of led us. Like, early on, Nate got a phone call from Starbucks, wanted to know if they could buy bike blenders from him, and of course he said yes. And that was like pretty cool vote of confidence from a major um, brand. So then, things like that kept happening, and that's when we started to support the bike blender more and make sure that we tried to have it in stock, continue improving the quality and all those things.
Okay, okay. That's neat. That's really interesting. So I guess we're slowly running out of time, actually. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank you, Paul, for coming out. This is really interesting stuff. I'm definitely going to encourage everyone to go to your website, rockthebike.com. That is correct. Yeah. And to take
Yeah.
a look around, there's a bunch. You obviously have a bunch of different models and different sort of interesting things that you guys do. I mean, I had never thought of sort of powering a concert using bikes, which is a really interesting, sort of model, and interesting to sort of get people thinking about energy and what it's needed for and how it can actually be made. So I'm going to invite everyone to check it out. And I want to say thanks again, Paul, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And you guys have a great summer.
Okay, sounds like Jonathan, one more thing though.
Yeah.
So if there's people who are listening and they're excited about pedaling, there's a new field of bikes called cargo bikes that you may or may not have heard of, but cargo bikes are a really cool new style of biking. This is not a Rock the Bike product. This is just something I support. And cargo bikes are like regular bikes, but they are built to carry more. So if you think about like how a touring bike has places for bags, a cargo bike has places for even more than just small bags. And you can easily carry people on them, and you can easily carry like pretty substantial amounts of cargo and shopping, sports equipment, concert equipment, musical instruments, anything like that. And so that's an area of the bicycle field that's really coming up, and it's really exciting. It's one of these few examples of a personal action where you can do it, and you can improve your life by having more fitness, a different experience of community, and a sort of a rough and ready experience of tying things down, which I personally find really satisfying to have to tie things down to my bike. And you can, and then as you're doing that, of course, you're not using gas, and so you're improving your life and reducing your use of gas. I think those are some of the examples of things that are going to really make a difference. Is activities where people are happier doing it and they're reducing their impact at the same time.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll definitely check that out. Cargo bikes. Also, this is going to go up on our YouTube as usual, and so I'll add a link to your website, but also to cargo bikes too, because that does sound like a really neat, definitely saving on energy and also using up human energy, which is cool. Anything else you'd like to add, Paul?
Well, there's one manufacturer of cargo bikes that I like is called Yuba, Y-U-B-A. So that'll be a good link to put up there.
Okay.
And otherwise, nothing else to add.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out, Paul, and you have a great day. And thanks everyone for watching.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye, guys.